I'm just as bad with interviews as I was the first time you gave me.
And see, that's a perfect way to start this off. It's Cage Minds. I'm Micah Frankel. That Chevy Wildman Bridges joining us. Sir, how you doing, man? It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. I'm doing good. Lots changed since last time we spoke.
Definitely has. I mean, if you want to go all the way back to it, was like 2016, and there was a point where you moved away and from New Mexico, moved back home, and it sounded like at that point you were done fighting.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the time. My heart wasn't in it, and was just kind of done with it. Like I had some experiences out there in New Mexico that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth for the sport. And it was nothing to do with the people I met. It was just the experiences I went through while I was there. And I moved back home and dealt with some personal things and kind of got comfortable and got the itch, tried it one more time and got beat up pretty bad. So then I realized my heart was not in MMA anymore. And I really thought that was it. Like I was done, that I just had to, look up other revenues. And then I found Bare-Knuckle. So I thought, give it one more try. And that's what it was. It wasn't MMA. It was just, I wasn't in the right combat sport.
And if we go back to 2016, when you walked away, there were also some things medically, right, that weren't going in your favor, that it was a better decision to take some time away from getting punched, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Back then when I was a little younger, I liked to take more damage than I needed to, per se. And it did have some lasting effects for a little moment, and had some injuries along the way with training that kind of played into all that, but it was all like little signs that I was done.
You were a wrestler. It was take down guys, ground and pound them. That was the first, 4 fights a year MMA career. How does that guy turn into a guy that ends up loving to stand and trade and is now in a striking sport?
I think New Mexico for that. You're right. My first early on fights in my career, I definitely was the strong wrestler. I didn't know how to strike that well, just enough to stay alive. And I would take them down and use my wrestling to win fights. And then I moved to New Mexico. I met Arlene and Tom Bond and them guys. And really just on my side anyways, I vibed well with Arlene. The way she talked about striking, the way she taught it, it flowed right. And then the way I felt I fit in HB with the sparring, like it was just every day we gloved up and went to battle. And I got tired of wrestling, and it got boring. I don't want to lay on you and hold you down, and I want to punish you in more painful ways now. So that's where the love of striking came from, was fit in HB.
Now, you're away from the sport. You move back home. Like we said, there were some injuries along the way. When and how did you get back to the gym, try this again?
Well, I have my cousin down here who's my coach now. Kind of sat down and talked with her because she was still having a couple trainers, amateurs down here in the Oklahoma circuit, and sat down and talked with her and see if we should give it one more shot, because I didn't want to go with no regrets. So we gave it another shot, and it didn't go our way. And so we had that conversation again, and we were going to hang it up, man. And she convinced me to give it one more try, and we came across Bare-Knuckle, and I convinced her to support me to not worry about my safeties per se, because she cares about me as a family, but to care about my heart enough to let me do that and support me. And she did. And now here we are making dreams happen.
Well, what was that itch? When did you decide to sit down and have that conversation? Was it a dream, a feeling? Did you see a fight? Like, what made you again want to just start to pursue it?
Really, it was a fight. It was Jason Knight and Artem Lobov #1. I didn't think a lot about Bare-Knuckle as a legit fighting thing, more of an underground thing. I saw a lot of the YouTube videos, in Russia with the hay bales, and I did see on Facebook the clips of BKFC 1 and Tony Lopez and Joey Beltran having that awesome bloody fight. But still at the time, I looked at it more as like it was underground. It wasn't a legit competition. It was just people getting there and fighting. And it's cool, but I knew I spent so much time working to be a competitor and be an elite fighter. I didn't take it seriously. And then I watched Artem Lobov and Jason Knight. I watched that event because, of course, the names. I like Artem Lobov. I'm a fan of his. So I wanted to check it out. And seeing the rawness that came with it, there's no strategy. It's just you're a better fighter or that guy's a better fighter on that night. And watching that violence and that rawness come out, it really showed me that's where I belonged.
So in total now, how long have you been completely focused on training in bare knuckle?
Come June, it'll be a full year. So I've done, I think three sparring sessions of MMA, and that's just for some of the guys that work on boxing with me here. They've had some MMA fights, so I've done some wrestling work with them, and even then, it's not that fun. I mean, I do it to help them out because, they're my boys, and I'll always help out what I can with what I know, but I don't enjoy it as much still. So it's definitely been a lot of focus on boxing in this last, 8-9 months, however long it's been, and I've been loving it.
What's the process and the training like for optimizing your skill set as a bare knuckle boxer?
Of course, there's technique, of course, because it is boxing, but it's not traditional boxing. So I don't focus so much on trying to be Floyd Mayweather, look as pretty as him, keep my stuff as. No, it's a lot of body conditioning, make sure I'm in shape, I'm strong, I can handle whatever kind of pain you throw at me. It's a lot of hand conditioning. It's hell. It's not your usual martial arts class. It's totally different. It's old school. Like you're going in there and getting ready for a fight, like a old school fist fight. So it's a lot of difference, man. It's a lot different. Sparring is still a little bit the same. It's boxing sparring. Of course, we know we do it with gloves, but I do. The only thing different is I use MMA sparring gloves for boxing. I don't box with boxing gloves a whole lot. I'll use the smaller gloves. And then, of course, that's no different than two MMA guys sparring it out with those gloves anyways. So not a lot of difference there.
Do you
I
feel
do
like
wear
the sport?
headgear more often.
That's a good idea now.
Yeah, got to protect the brain more now that there's no gloves involved.
Do you think there's a happy medium of what bare knuckle allows you to do that's in between the MMA and boxing rules?
Yeah, I feel bare knuckles a lot safer, to be honest with you. And it's weird to say that because there are no gloves, but they have a lot more rules in place. They hold you to a higher standard. BKFC alone makes it so much different. Yeah, there's a medium there, somewhat, like you still know it's still a similar kind of world and game, but in its own sense, it's a whole nother world. It's nothing like MMA. The process is different. The experience is different. The people are different. I mean, a lot of the fighters come from MMA, but it's different now. Like there's not as much pressure on us for everything. I don't know. It's kind of the same, but then again, it's a lot different.
Do you think the fact that it's almost a grittier fight from a boxing match is what has attracted so many MMA fighters to come over?
Absolutely. I think MMA over time has been flooded with athletics. It's more for athletes like GSP. Like GSP paved the way for athletes. So of course, there's still fighting in it. Obviously, you've still got to be somewhat of a fighter for it, but it's not as raw as it used to be. It's not like anything can happen like Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz. Like, if it goes to the ground, Tito Ortiz is going to smash his face in. But if it stays standing up, Chuck Liddell is going to knock him out. No, there's so much into it now. Everybody's so good at everything. I feel like it's been washed out and got boring to where it's just they're so technical. If you don't know much about the sport, you're not going to be interested because they're just standing there dancing around, catching each other, and it's going to look boring like they're not doing anything. But really, they're just two very elite guys staying on par with each other and countering each other. And I feel bare knuckle brings that excitement back because you can be technical, but you're going to get caught with something stupid from a wild fighter and it's going to mess you up because it's bare knuckle. So you don't have time to think that way and try to outsmart your opponent. It's just bite on your mouthpiece and believe you're the better fighter and give it everything you got. So I think it brings that excitement and that violence that us as humans crave and really love.
I know not only as a participant, but as a spectator, BKFC has brought you down there. So you've been in the crowd. Does that vibe, the energy in the venue kind of feel reminiscent of what you were watching when we were watching old school UFC?
Oh yeah, it's even that is a way better. Like the crowd is way more alive. They're what's the word I'm looking for? They're a lot more merry at these fights. Like when you go to MMA fights, like you've got this guy versus this guy. When the crowd, it's this guy versus that guy too. So bare knuckle, yeah, you still have that because you have the fighter supporters, but really, they really don't care. I mean, they'll be upset that their guy lost, but they will still cheer for the other guy. The sportsmanship is a lot different. The respect is different, and the fans, they respect all the fighters on a whole nother level just because of how much more violent it really is. And not a lot of fighters will do it. They're not crazy enough to get in there and really do it to the full ability. So when you get those fighters that do, the love from the fans is a lot stronger for sure.
You've already said it's a different experience than the smokers, than the MMA fights you've done. In the two bare knuckle, and I think it's two, right? That you've done
Yes.
so far?
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe what that experience, what those fights have been like, how they've differed, how that moment has been being in that squared circle?
I mean, it is hard to explain. Like for me in MMA, like when I would get in the cage, everybody else disappeared. I would have tunnel vision. You know, I wouldn't have time to think. My brain would shut off, and my body would just do what it's trained to do, which it's great. But in bare knuckle, like in that squared circle, I'm fully aware of what's going on around me. I'm getting to actually enjoy that moment and know that I'm doing what I want to do, not just shutting off. Like during the fight, I could hear my friends screaming in the crowd away from the ring, and I knew where they were. I knew it was my friend because I could hear their voice. Like for me personally, it's a way better experience in that squared circle than in a cage because it allows you to really be yourself because it doesn't give you room for any error. Like you have no choice but to just be on point, give it your all, and let it all out.
How did you know that this was going to be for you? You saw it, it sparked something in you. What was the first training, the first fight, the first lead up, all of that, like from a sense of a purpose of belonging and that feeling that you've earned, feeling the feeling that you've gotten now that you belong?
At first, man, it was a big question mark. It was something that it looked fun. Like I was just bored and I wanted to do something else. It was a big promotion. Honestly, it was a lot of, I put so much time in MMA and left my family, went to New Mexico, came home. I didn't want to feel like a failure. So I figured if I give it this shot and make it for these guys, I can at least be somebody. That's a big promotion. They're the UFC of bare knuckle. Like if I can just get one fight, then boom, I did it. I fought on a primetime promotion. That was the main goal. I wasn't sure if I'd really like it or not. Went to the tryouts. We did a little bit of bare knuckle sparring, hit like a little punch meter, did some stuff, talked to some of their fighters. And it kind of piqued my interest more. I was like, okay, these guys are cool. This seems fun. Like punching, like doing the sparring with no gloves, like it felt cool on my hands, like touching skin on skin. It was interesting. And then I went back home, waited for the phone call, met up with my new manager, and it kind of just kept building up. And it was still a wonder, like we were going to try it, see if this is what we wanted to do. We'll know quickly if we want to do it or not. And then the fight came and the nerves started rushing in once we got to Kansas because still wasn't sure if this was really what I was wanting to do, but millions of people were about to be watching and I had no test run. So there was a lot of nerves for that. And then I just told myself, fuck it, it's a street fight. Like he's about to try to hurt you. So just go in there and fight him. Whatever happens, happens. And then I had to do an interview with Chris Lytle, and that was a very, very nerve-wracking. And I told him, I said, my biggest thing is letting all you guys down that are watching. I don't want to come out here and say I want to fight and then go out there and look stupid and be embarrassed, get knocked out real fast, or look like a retarded street fighter that's windmilling or something. And Chris Lytle told me, he said, look, you're stepping in there and you're doing it. He said, just do it the best you can, and we guarantee you're not letting us down. And that gave me a sense of confidence to just go in there and do what I know I can do. And I did it, and I came out with a knockout, and I knew that's where I belonged at that moment because I don't know. It was just fun. The dude hit me really quick with a jab, and I felt it. And as soon as I saw the blood, I knew what I had to do, and I felt what I had to do. And so I knew I was home.
What does that mean to you to find that sense of purpose? Because I know that as long as I've known you, outside of the game and everything, we've talked about many different career paths and interests that you've had in life. What has it meant to have found something that you've really drawn a connection to?
Oh, it's peaceful, man. As much as I am as a violent person on the inside, I'm at peace at the same time. Like I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm on the right path, and it's moving on its own now. I don't have to work so hard to push everything and force it. Like it's there. I just got to keep doing what I know I'm supposed to do, enjoy life. And now other doors are opening up because I'm not trying so hard on one area. Like that's taken off. It's doing its thing. I know where I belong. They know I belong there. So now I'm looking at other ventures of life. Now it's giving me the option to look at life as life, not just be here for one sole purpose. Now I can do whatever I want, and I still have that to go back on and know that I can still be myself at the end of the day.
And maturity. You mentioned it a while ago before we started, or maybe it was when we started, that you now have a child also. Talk about the maturity as a person, how you've grown.
Uh, in some ways, not so much, but in a lot of ways, I've grown a lot. Everything's about him. Every decision I make, I think about him first and what that will put him in. It gives me something to fight harder for, not to provide for him, but to show him no matter what you're up against, fight. Whatever it is, do your best. And your dad is always going to be there and be proud of you. And so it's good that I can live my dream and show him that. But yeah, I mean, it's changed my world for good and for bad. So I don't know, it's hard to say, but yeah, it's definitely raised my maturity. I don't go out and do stupid shit. Not gonna lie, I was a fighter. I was young. I would like to party. If the party was there after a fight, I was down. But now I don't. I'll go to an after party with these other BKFC fighters, but I don't really drink. I'll drink a bottle of water or maybe a beer, and then I go back to where I was supposed to go. It's just really changed. Like I don't know. I don't do a lot of the things I used to do because of him.
I see that. First off, we understand it's a little bit of healing. We've seen the cast now pop into the camera a couple of times, but short-term, long-term goals.
Um, Short term goals really is just enjoy the ride. Just take every moment I can and make it the most out of it and embrace it. Long term goals, I can't fully say because I haven't cleared it with my coach, but I've got some new ideas coming. But halfway long term goals, I'm going for the 45 and 55 titles. So that's my long term goals. I'm going to not necessarily prove I'm the best bare knuckle fighter in the world. I want to prove that I'm the most violent, most baddest bare knuckle fighter in the world. And no matter how hard it takes me or how hard it is or how long it takes me, I will get both those belts. So that's my main goal, is to get both those belts and tear it up along the way, however many times it takes.
Okay, now how did you come up with those specific goals right there at the end for how you want to be described as a fighter?
Because I feel in bare knuckle, there's still some fighters that want to be the best in the world, and that's great. But in bare knuckle, it's not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best that night. And I don't care about being the best in the world. I just don't care. Like that's for athletes. That's for competitors. That's for people looking for fame and glory. Like, oh, I want to be the best. No, I want to be the baddest. I don't care if you think of me as that I'll whoop everybody in the world. I know that's an impossible feat. I'm not going to whoop everybody in the world. I'm a realist. I'm not the baddest dude on this planet, but I want to be the baddest dude in the sport, to where if my name comes across your phone, you sit down and have a real conversation with your team if you really want to put yourself through that. Like, yeah, he's beatable, but do we want to put ourselves through that kind of pain? That's what I want. I want them to know that I'm the meanest motherfucker in this promotion, and I want them to know that.
Oh, and totally something I meant to bring up earlier. I don't know if you two have had a chance to talk about it, but I've seen the symbol. It's funny to see you two walk now the same path to find Bare-Knuckle, that you and Taylor Starling both were here at Finn and HB at a point, and you guys are both having such success there, both having moved back home.
Yeah, I mean, we found our niche. I mean, I don't really talk much to Taylor these days. I did reach out to her when I first got with the promotion, and I know she's one of their stars. So she hasn't really been able to reach back to me, and she's been busy with stuff, personal stuff going on in her life. And all I can say is, man, I'm super proud to see that it's working out for us this way, because I remember her coming to Fit, starting her amateur career and starting out and not knowing what she wanted to do, kickboxing or MMA or boxing. And I was the same way. Like, I was doing MMA, but I was still wondering, like, yeah, is there something else? So it's really cool to see that I've got a friend in the promotion that once we finally meet back up, it's all going to come rushing back, and we'll be able to sit there and conversate and talk about how our journeys were different and how we ended up in the same place. So it's just, to me, it's really cool, and it's a sign, I guess. We were two nobodies at Fit and HB that came to join the gym based off reputation, and we weren't family there. We weren't from there. People didn't give us that time or day because we were nobodies from there. And now look at us. We came back home to where we belong, and we found our promotion, and now we're tearing it up. So it's kind of like a spit in the face to everyone who didn't give us a chance before.
Once again, happy to see you happy, smiling, and doing well, sir.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Yep. And hopefully I'll be back there soon. I'm looking hopefully May or June. So
we look forward to it. Before we let you go, pump the social media. How can all the fans follow you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's _Wildman_BKFC. On Facebook, it's Chevy the Wildman Bridges. I think that's my only social media outlet. I'm not very good at it. I try. I am setting up a Millions account, so I will have that going soon, so fans can jump on there and ask me whatever they want, conversate, watch fights with me, all that fun stuff. So it's the best way.
Thank you for the time, sir.